everybody, I'm Margaret Lewin and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. Today is the last video in this series for the second quarter quilt. This is called Lyon's quilt and this is how I did mine. One of the things about this quilt that amazed me was how drastically different it looks depending on your fabric choices. If you're part of our Facebook group, please do take a look through at all of the different Lyon's quilts, only because even though they're all made with the same pattern, every single quilt just looks so different. I chose to do the quilt with a dark gold background as my background color, and there were a couple of times in it that I was a little concerned over what I had done. But in the end, I absolutely love it. I think it came out great. Now, I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about the quilting. I'm going to insert some clips on when I put it on the long arm and how I went about deciding my quilting. I quilted it with a thread color that's called Sunflower. Here's the thread color. All right. And it's a nice variegated. It's got some gold. It's got some brown in it. It was a great color with this quilt, and I ended up really liking it. Now, this is a King Tut thread, so that you know. I did bat it with wool batting, so this has got Quilter's Dream wool in it. So it's light, but yet it's extremely warm, and at the same time cool because it's a natural fiber. So I'm very happy with it. One of the things that I'm happiest about is that the quilt is densely quilted in some areas, but you can still see all of this wonderful little puffy, and that to me looks like an old quilt that had been my grandmother's or been handed down through the generations, and that's something that I really like about quilts. So it has yet to be washed. Once it's washed, it will really just be absolutely gorgeous, and I don't have the binding done yet, but I'm very happy with the way it came out. I also wanted to talk about the quilting pattern. The quilting pattern that I used on this, I did it as what's called an edge to edge, which means that the quilting pattern goes from one side of the quilt to the other and from the top and to the bottom. And on this quilt, I used what was not typically an edge to edge pattern. Instead, I used what's called, the black name is called Thumbs Up 8W Black. And this is an Anne Bright design from May of 2017. So it's a brand new design. And I like to use the new ones because I like to see how they quilt out. But as I said, I did do it as an edge to edge. So there were a couple little tricks that I did so that I could take what was meant to be a custom pattern and turn it more into an edge-to-edge design. I will also insert pictures of the back of the quilt because the back of the quilt is quite pretty also. I backed it with a Moda Grunge fabric, which if you've watched me for a while, you know I love the Moda Grunges. So there's the quilt. If you'd like to see how I quilted it, stick around and I'll show you how. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to tell the computer exactly where the quilt is. So that's the number one. So I'm going to start by just doing a couple of clicks on the computer saying, okay, right here is where my quilt is. This is where I want you to sew. And like I said before, I'm doing an edge to edge. I could do a custom quilt, but a custom quilt of this size would probably take me a good 2 or 3 days, depending if I used each block, each 12-inch block, or if I used each, if I took 4 blocks and put them together, which you can see I really can't because, maybe getting stuck. I can't because I can't reach all 2 blocks of my throat plate. I think my throat plate on this is 22 inch. Well, no, I think it's 26, and this is, the quilt's 28. So, I couldn't even do that. So it would take me a full, complete 3 days to do this quilt custom. So we're just going to do an edge to edge because I don't have time for the custom. So there's my quilt. The next thing I need to do is I've already laid out the pattern on my computer screen, so it's already there and I can see it. Now what I need to do is put my pattern inside of it. So what I've got, you can see here, I hope, this little red square here, that tells me where my quilt top is, and here is my quilt. So I'm going to take it, I'm just going to highlight all of it, and I'm going to move it. I'm just going to pick it up and say, okay, I want you over here. And it takes a minute because that's a lot of quilting in there. All right, I'm going to just pick it up and move it. All right, there it goes. Exactly where well, not exactly. All right, now comes the fussy part because I've gotten it there, but now I've got to get it really centered. Now remember, this little area here, which is maybe 3-4 inches, is really representing 96 inches of quilt. So I'm going to kind of nudge it around here a little bit and see if that makes a difference. And then I'm going to have to blow it up really big so that I can really see what it is. And that's what the pattern looks like on the machine, all done up. Come on, I'm making it mad. I'm going to highlight all of it again, and I'm just going to try to move it a little bit more. All right, I'm getting close. I think so. It does move slowly, and that's fine. It's, you know, it's a big quilt. It's not little. I'm not changing the size of the pattern at all. I'm going to leave the blocks just as big as they are. I don't want to make any adjustments to them. I want them to stay that size. And you can see what I'm doing is I'm trying to line it up perfectly with those lines that are drawn on the computer screen. So if I unhighlight it, sometimes it's a little easier to see. And I have to bring it in and start really looking close. See, I'm a little bit too close there. So then I highlight the whole thing again, move it out a little bit. Yep. Just get it as close as I can. Then I check my top all the way across. And now see, I've got a little bit extra here, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. Because as the quilt goes down, I may have to make adjustments to the size of it. And this will give me a little bit of room to do that. So I'm going to take that out just a little bit, and see, I can make it bigger or smaller, whatever I have to do. Where it gets fun is when you're now like right here where I am, where I'm trying to really get it fine-tuned. And it doesn't seem to matter how hard I try. I can't get the mouse to move at the speed I want it to. And I've got a mouse that's supposed to be like all real nice and I'll cut that part out. All right, so now that I've got it here, I'm going to move it in tight, and I'm going to just take it back in just a little teeny tiny bit. I'll make an adjustment. Just the slightest movement to get it back inside the lines. As I quilt across, what's going to happen is it is going to, well, that's right where I want it. Oop, back one. All right, I'm going to do this way now. Sometimes when you just can't get it to do it the way you want it to, you do something different. I'm going to go 1, 2. So now what I'm doing is I'm kind of nudging it to the left because the left seemed to move in a little bit easier. And I'll just come over here and bring it back out a little bit. There we go. All right. So now that I have that quilted, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just select this top row. See my top row? And I'm going to tell it that I want it to combine all those patterns that I've highlighted. And what that's basically telling it to do is I want you to stitch the whole thing all in a row. Right? I will change the angle of the camera and now you can watch it quilt. Thank you so much for joining me today for the last episode of the 2017 second quarter quilt along, and this has been Lyon's quilt. So I hope you enjoyed this series. Please do stick around. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Make sure you click the bell so that you get notified whenever I put up a new video. I do try to go live at least once a week here on YouTube, and I try to pop in on my Facebook page once a week and go live there too. So I hope you can join me for that. And don't forget to come on back for the second quarter quilt, which I think is going to be completely different from this one. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm going to be using Kaffe Facets fabrics, and he's real bright and wild and just gorgeous fabric. So a little bit different from this one, but thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Bye.